Into the boroughs, the faithful tune in. Gary Mack's in the booth, let the musings begin. Orange and blue, through the highs and the lows, breaking down every pitch, cause that's how it goes. It's MetsMusings, where the stories ignite. A recap, a rant, and a Saturday night. Stats and passion, a voice fans trust. All for the team that's forever with us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of MetsMusings. Happy 4th of July. We're a day early, but nonetheless, have a happy and safe 4th of July. Don't forget to pull those fingers out of there. Don't be lighting those firecrackers and whatever they have nowadays. Roman candles shows you my age, but be safe, be happy, have a good time. 250 years of American freedom. It's a big birthday. We live in the greatest country in the world. And go out and enjoy it. It's going to be hot, so stay with your water and Gatorade and whatever else you might like. So everybody's safe. Well, the Mets, not such a great week. 2-4 on the week. They dropped 2 out of 3 to Philly and 2 out of 3 to Toronto. But Mets owner Steve Cohen talked this week in an interview on a podcast with John Heyman and Joel Sherman, and he spoke about how David Stearns is set. He's not going anywhere. He's got a contract for 5 years, and they are going to honor that contract. He said the team did not perform, is not doing well this year, that there's a lot of mistakes, there's going to be changes, and he's not happy with it, but it is what it is. Again, he has a contract, and he's going to honor that contract. He also touched on the so-called Soto Lindor kerfuffle. He said that they did have a little thing where they were not so compatible, but they've worked through it. Everything is fine now. This, according to Steve Cohen. And again, to go back to the David Stern things, that he said, as far as Cohen saying, that we'll figure out what changes need to be made, but it won't be David. So David Stearns is good, it appears, for at least the next 2 years. He better get them to a World Series or something quickly, because I think after that he'll be gone. But, there's been some good things under David Stern, and Steve Cohen points that out. Does he get any credit for 2024 when they almost made the World Series? But I don't know. There's been some other disturbing things that have come up lately regarding David Stearns that, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what to think, and you don't know if everything they say is true, but or if it's sour grapes. For example, former Mets bench coach and hitting coach Erik Chavez was on his podcast, and he made some disparaging remarks about David Stern. He said that when Stearns came on board, he was the bench coach, and he asked him to go back to being the hitting coach, and they asked him to take a $30,000 to $40,000 pay cut. That doesn't get you off to a good start right away with a new president, but that was the first thing. And the second, and this is the disturbing thing to me, was when Chavez openly disagreed via an email and in person with Stearns, who had sent a message to all of the minor league hitters and hitting coaches to focus on pulling the ball and hitting home runs with the quickest way to get to the major leagues. And that Stearns sided with a AAA analytical hitting guy on this. And this disturbed Chavez because he was more of a contact, make the contact, and things will happen. And Stearns didn't agree with that. And I think we see the offense has been awful on this team for the last couple of years. They don't hit. They don't make contact. They strike out way too much. And we have discussed this many times on this program. Many times. But this is something now brought to life by Erik Chavez. And some people might say it's, it could be sour milk because he got let go and everything. But I don't think it is. It could be easily disproven if it never happened, and the fact that it did, uh, you know, it's a disturbing function. It really is because we see how poorly this team hits, and if his philosophy is to pull the ball, he's ruining guys like Alvarez. Alvarez, watch his stance, watch the way he swings. He is a right field to right center field hitter. That is his power. He can drive the ball that way. And they take that away by making him try to pull the ball all the time. That's not going to work. Thank God Carson Bange and A.J. Ewing retained their hitting ability and hit the ball to all fields. That's the way you got to play this game. You got to hit the ball to all fields. You want to make contact. Strikeouts are not another out. If you put the ball in play, something can happen. Yes, I know if there's men on base, you can hit it to a double play and kill a rally. Whereas if you strike out, it doesn't necessarily kill a rally because it's only one out versus the two. But if you hit a ground ball and a shortstop or a second baseman or a third baseman or first baseman boots the ball or throws it into the outfield or in foul grounds, something has happened. You can score then. It's not just another out, a strikeout. It's a dead play. Nothing happens. I'd rather see something happen than nothing happen. That's why you'll hear me say, I'm concerned. The Mets might win a game 8-3, but 7 of the runs came on home run. That's concerning to me because they're not building runs other ways. And then what happens when you don't hit home runs? you get shut out or you lose 9-3. So I believe in contact, and apparently Stearns doesn't. He believes in pulling the ball. Maybe that's why he brought in some of these guys like Luis Robert Jr. and Jorge Polanco. I don't know. We didn't see enough of them to figure it out. But if that's true, then this organization is truly a mess, and Steve Cohen has to do something about it. I have to disagree with his decision to keep Stearns. I think somebody has to pay for this season, other than Carlos Mendoza. He's already paid for it. And it's a shame, a good baseball man, but I think baseball's getting too swallowed up again with these analytics. It they just they hurt young players. I think there's too much information thrown at these young players instead of just letting them go out there and play. Just play. You can teach the fine points of the game, but just play. The Dodgers used to have a manual. I don't know if they still have it, but it was the Dodgers way to play, something like that. That was the title. And they broke down every position, and the guy would read that. Now they didn't follow everything, because your natural ability changes things as you go along, of course. But the basics are there, and this team lacks basics. And it seems they brought in guys that lack basics. Again, they strike out too much. They don't make enough contact, in my mind. I can be totally wrong, but this is my opinion. And let's keep in mind they almost went, as Steve Cohen said, we almost went to the World Series in 24. Doesn't Stearns get credit for that? Well, doesn't Mendoza and Chavez also get credit? Chavez being the hitting coach that year. So there's enough blame to go around. There's also enough credit to go around. But I think as far as this goes, Stearns has to get some of the blame, a lot of the blame. And we wait and see. Now the rumors are coming out, of course, who could be traded. Some of the top candidates are Freddie Peralta. I don't know. He has been absolutely awful. I don't know what you would get for him, but there are teams out there that will try to get him. They'll try to get him cheap, and they'll figure they can fix him if they can get him for a reasonable price. So the Mets have to see what they want to do. They're going to lose him at the end of the year, so I'd rather get some sort of even a lower level prospect at this point, and bring in a guy like Jonah Tong or Wettinger or something. Just leave him in the rotation, let him take his lumps. They're also going to get Clay Holmes back, and there's talk that he could be traded. I'd hate to do that. He's been so good for this team. I would keep him for next year. You want to try to keep something together and try to make changes within, so maybe the team gels like next year. And I think nowadays with free agency and the potential to trade, it's not that far off. This team has some building blocks. We know Soto's going to be there. I mean, he's got the huge contract. I don't think you're going to move that contract. It looks like Lindor is going to be here. I don't know if he would accept the trade, and I don't know whether or not people would take the contract left for him. He has another 6 years, I believe it is, on his contract. So let's assume that those two are here. It looks like Bange and Ewing are going to be here. So the outfield is set for the most part. The infield is the whole thing that's in question. Other than shortstop right now, who's going to be the first baseman of the future? Is it going to be Jarrett Young? Who's going to be the second baseman? It's not going to be Simeon. Maybe another year if they can't move him. I would move him and move some young guy in there. Who's going to be at third? Is it going to be Beatty or Bichette? Is Bichette going to opt out at the end of the year? Lots of questions, mostly in the infield. Um, Even the catching situation. Stearns is signed for the next couple of years, so he'll be here. Is he going to be the backup or the number one catching? Is Alvarez going to be a catcher or is he going to be a DH? I can't see him performing in either role, to be honest with you. He's not that good a catcher, and I don't think he hits enough to be a DH. You know, if you want the occasional home run, okay, but you can't have a DH that strikes out. Watch it. Watch a game of his. He hits a home run and then he strikes out 3 times. You can't have, and he strikes out at key spots. Tying run on second, he strikes out. He hits a home run with nobody on. No. So Alvarez is a big question mark. So who are some of the candidates they have or the press has talked about them trading? Well, Brooks Raley, AJ Minta, which means you got to rebuild the bullpen next year. Unless you try to get these guys back. You trade them, get some prospects, and then see if you can sign them again next year. Sometimes they don't do that. And I don't know why. They have somebody that's decent in the bullpen. They trade them away at the deadline, but then they don't even give them a sniff the next year. I would have went after Tyler Rogers this year or last year, but they didn't bother. I don't know why. Um, so those are guys that may be in demand. Peralta comes up in trade talks, of course. Possibility I mentioned Clay Holmes. Um, no, nothing yet on Kodai Senga, but he would be a guy I would consider trading. Um, I've read that the Mets would like to keep Devin Williams, and Luke Weaver to keep at least part of the bullpen together. So next year they don't have an issue of building an entire bullpen again. And I think that might be a good idea. But if they get an overwhelming offer for a Luke Weaver or even a Devin Williams, at this point, I think you have to make the move. To be honest, I haven't checked out the free agents for next year, so I can't tell you what the relief pitches are available or if any big name closes are going to be available. But that's all have to be taken in consideration by the Mets when they make these trades. I don't see too many bench players going or starters for that matter. Maybe Jared Young might be a piece that somebody would be interested in, and you could get something decent back from him. He's having a nice year, and he may be something, maybe even an Alvarez. Some team might want to take a chance on him if they think they can correct his hitting, and maybe they can. A lot of times you get players, and it does their strength does not always fit the philosophy of the organization, and you try to mold them in that, and it doesn't always work out, and nor should it. Um, or organizations change, And I think that's why sometimes it has to come from an owner. If an owner comes in, he has to say, "This is my philosophy. This is what I believe as an owner, as a fan of a team," and then hire people that have the knowledge of that and the knowledge to teach that, or to hire people, or to know people that teach that way. And I think it's got to come from Cohen. I don't, unless he likes this with the pulling and the home run power, but I don't particularly care for it. I don't think it's the way this organization should go. But be that as it may, the rest of the season has to be played out. And as I said, it will be played out. And we will see what the trading deadline brings us, who they move and who they keep. And I would like to see a Luis Robert Jr. going, and a Jorge Polanco, and pretty much all the guys he brought in this year, Stearns, have been bombs. So I say clean house, get rid of them, but nobody's going to want them. And again, I think if you can get something for somebody, somebody may want Luis Robert Jr. If you can get him, even for a bag of balls, get rid of him. Get him off your payroll. Start fresh. It was not a good deal getting him. Start fresh. Get rid of him, and let's begin again. We have a center fielder now. We have a right fielder. We have a left field. The outfield is pretty much set, other than a backup. Do you want to keep Tyrone Taylor? Maybe some team would be interested in him. Maybe you move him and you bring up a young guy to be your fourth outfielder. Or you use Beatty for your fourth outfielder and bring up somebody else as a fifth outfielder. Something in that combination. I'd like to see the Mets go for more speed. Steal more bases, be more aggressive. And these are all things we'll watch for the rest of the season. Now, according to the schedule, the Mets, of course, have 4 games coming up with the Atlanta Braves, including a night game on July the 4th, always interesting. If you remember back in 1986 with the Mets being in Atlanta on that July 4th, very interesting that they're back again. So a 4-game series with Atlanta, then they come home for 3 with Kansas City and 3 with the Boston Red Sox. No minor league report today. I wanted to keep this short because it is a holiday and I want everybody to go enjoy it. So I just wanted to get on the record about the Stearns and Cohen and Chavez and the mess that this organization has become. So until next time, remember to keep the faith, stay optimistic, and let's go Mets. And I'm Gary Mack, and I'll see you next time on another edition of Mets Music. Happy 4th of July, everybody.